Okay, welcome everyone. I suppose these recordings are for extra explanations to the PowerPoints that have been presented to the students in the class, and these recordings will help follow along with for any parents or students who are accessing the website to see on the PowerPoint as well. Just some extra explanations so those questions have been answered and there aren't any lingering doubts on what has to be completed and everyone knows the direction they're going. Okay. So the CBA, it stands for a classroom-based assessment, and it's really, I suppose, a research project the students will complete, and particularly for history, which is what we'll be focused on, what this site's focused on. It's about researching your past, researching the area where you live, the past, and my place. And you have 3 weeks to complete it, which we will go over the 3-week steps that have to be done as we move along through the slideshow. So what is to be done for CBA 1 for history? The CBA 1 involves my past and my place, so you'll be researching your area. As you mentioned here, the Department of Education skills, a structured evidence-based inquiry into a historical aspect or theme relating to the locality, place, or personal family history of the student. So, as mentioned here, in simpler English, what you have to do is research something from the past, from the area in which you live, or carry out some research on your family, or maybe you might have strong family connections, and that doesn't particularly have to be in the place the student lives in now. It can be from a place they might have lived in before. So if a student has moved from a different country, different area, the research there can be done the exact same way. Okay, so it's just about researching the past in my place, really, as the title would say. So, looking at this slide here, we ask how local is local, and it's really just, I suppose, about your local place, your local parish, town, your county, province, region. Usually we will focusing mainly on your local town, your local parish, the area just around where you live. We're not going to go broaden it around to counties and provinces and regions. We're mainly going to focus on your locality, your local history. So that may involve maybe a more well-known historical member of your family who may have, or maybe some member of your family or grandparents who may have great knowledge of local history that may be something that was unknown to you and maybe of great historical importance, or possibly monuments, or we'll discuss more of these ideas as we move along, but usually these kind of ideas that we discuss will be monuments, different maybe possibly local historical buildings or local historical areas in your parish that will be of historical importance. Once again, we can see with that mainly discussing your local area. So, for a good example to always consider as we discuss in classes, what do we see every day on our way to school or training or our granny's house, etc.? Could this monument be of historical importance? Could anything really? Depends on your local area, what's there. So researching is going to be the key factor, and as well discussing with family members who may have a good knowledge of the area, or maybe have a good knowledge of an historical figure or historical moment or historical building, is always going to be a fantastic resource. So these are the kind of things that we would expect to be researched for your project. Once again, looking at this slide here with the possible ideas, you have maybe a person from your area, an event that took place in your area, a place of historical interest in your area, a monument, a statue, etc. You can present a family tree, possibly. A great family idea to discuss your family heritage. You can also research a family member who is historically significant at local, national, or international level. Someone from your family member who may be of great relevance or importance. These are the kind of things that we would want students to be researching, know more about their area and their family. So, with regards to searching for information, doing your researching, ask yourself, well, regarding the following criteria, as you can see, but ask yourself, is what I'm researching worth researching? Is this relevant to my topic? Is it remembered? Was it important at some stage? Do we remember it today? Is it resonant? Do people compare it to other events as people? Is it resulting in change? Did it have consequences for the future? And that is one of the key factors of, I suppose, the topic you choose to research. Was it important? Did it result in change? What were the consequences did it have in the future? And that will lead on then, if you consider this, that will lead on to the point of, I suppose, bringing in having it relate to the past, the present, and the future. What happened? Did it have consequences then, in the now, and in the future? Okay, and was it revealing? Does it show some other aspect of the past? Does it reveal anything about the past? Does it reveal a certain situation, a certain times? Does it relate to the certain time then? And also, was it remembered? Was it important? So now we're getting into the real, I suppose, crux of how do I go about completing the CBA. So, as you mentioned already, you'll go and discuss your research your topic, you'll investigate your topic, you will find your topic, and then you will begin to collect information on this topic. You will use at least two sources. You'll edit and structure your information as you move along. You'll take down information from these sources and you'll edit and structure it into correlating in a nice display. You'll proofread it, check your spelling and grammar, list your sources, and a reflection will be included at the end of the CBA where you reflect on how you went about the CBA, what you liked, what you didn't like, how it made you feel, and how you would maybe do something differently. That reflection, it will be important in that way, so you know how to go about doing the CBA the next time and what you might change. And making your display then, after you've edited and structured your information, you've proofread it, you'll then build your display in a nice way, making it colourful, making it nice to look at, making it in a way that the student finds easy to present. Okay. So, moving on to what is involved in making the CBA. So, once you decide on an historical aspect to research, you will follow these steps. And these steps will be correlated over the 3 weeks and they'll be laid out as you can see on the website. You have them laid out in each week by week, beginning the first week with investigating. You will investigate your information, you will investigate what topic you want to do, you'll start investigating on certain random facts you can learn about the topic, learn from people that you made that from your local area, family members, local history, newspapers, anything. And then you're just, once again, it's similar in a way with discovering. Discovering takes up some of the second week then as you move along, including it's more researching, it's just more gathering knowledge. And then once you're in the discovering phase in the second week, you'll have gathered all the knowledge you want, and then begin then in the third week to display the knowledge, organize everything. Everything will be organized, you'll have spell checked, you'll have checked your grammar, and then you'll be building your display. So you will be shaping out your display. You'll have it created the way you want in the model that student, I should say, would prefer, and in a colourful manner that is easy to gather, easy to navigate, as we said, as was mentioned already. And then once you follow these steps, then you'll begin your reflection then towards the end of the third week. Then the reflection then will be a correlation of everything you've gathered from the 3 weeks, how the student went through this task and how they might do it differently another time. On to how the CBA should be presented, you present your CBA in the form of a display, similar to what you might see in a library, museum, or a heritage centre. So, what I would like to see mainly would be a large poster, a large corkboard, or a large piece of display unit on cardboard. Mainly a large surface that you will display all your information printed out, cut out from printed sheets with colour, with pictures of documents, pictures of newspapers, all the information that you have or the student has gathered displayed. And you'll see now, as we move along to the next few slides, you'll see different presentations to give you a good idea of what I expect the students to have presented. And it's really, it's the student's choice of the type of material, but the main focus is that it will be a large display, large poster, large board, where they'll have this information displayed the way they want in a nice, correlating, colourful way that displays perfectly the work they put in. Because this is for the students to display how much and how hard they've worked gathering this information and how they want to give you the information. So what really we expect is, as you see in the photos, just a large surface where they've gathered and will present all the information and photos and sources they've gathered. What I have here now in this slide is a link to the Junior Cert Curriculum CBA examples. So these are different student examples that have been posted on the Curriculum Online site, where the junior cycle subjects for specifically history. Here I have student examples that have been submitted that give the full correlation of and a closer inspection on what might be written now. These are not to be copied as plagiarism, and you would be graded a fail if do so, but these are to give examples, as are the pictures here, to give an idea of how I want you to present them. And as well, the handout booklet that should be worked on, that will be worked on over the 3 weeks to add in for the students, so they know perfectly how to add in information. So they will have pages for their sources, and then have a display sheet at the end that will show where they can put in their information and design their display. And these, I suppose, so examples really are for just to give the students an extra idea, and as well the parents who might be watching this on the website, to give a better idea of what is expected of the students. So the students will have 3 weeks to do the project, and it's a long time. It's a long time to be doing something they're not interested in. So students should be choosing something that they have a good interest in, that choosing a topic that they are actually actively would like to get more information on and actively like studying. And giving your project a specific title and date is important. The famine in Ballina in 1845 to 1851. A great example. It explains perfectly when it's being studied, what the period, and what is being studied, what is being researched, and provide background information as well. What political reasons why someone might, as example, the French landing in Killala Bay in 1798, the political situation in Ireland at the time. Mention why certain things are happening, to give extra emphasis that the student has researched this heavily and knows this information very well. In regards to design display, again, I would highly suggest that you do as a chronological approach, so have a beginning, middle and end to this display, to your project. Causes, course, consequences, why this happened, how it moved along, and what happened because of it. Like mentioned already, with the beginning, middle and end, have a chronological approach, so we know where it starts, where it develops, and how it affects the future. Now remember, we discussed the consequences. Remember, this is about developing the historical consciousness of students as well. Now, I suppose students listening to that will be wondering what I'm talking about. It's about recognizing that the student understands what has led, it's really once again discussing consequences, influences, the effects that have in past, present and future. These are important. As you mentioned, these, let's say for example here, we have the Ulster plantation led to the division of Ireland. If someone was studying the Ulster plantation if in the past they would say it led to the division of Ireland, Irish language declined in popularity as a result of the famine. People remember those who died in the Holocaust on January 27th each year. Remembrance days, did a certain event that the student might be using in their research project. Does it have a remembrance day? Is there certain days that or possibly even a week where it is celebrated? Things like that. These are important to show the effects that it had on now and the future, to show that the research that has been done and the research has been thoroughly looked into. So as we move along, I would suggest that you look at knowing the terms such as source and evidence and the viewpoint, objectivity, cause, consequences, changing and continuity, time and space. These are all really delving into knowing all about your sources that you're looking at, and knowing all about the time as well, that the time that you are studying as well. Emphasize, maybe showing a bit of empathy towards the people that you might be researching. If you're researching the famine, like we said, like is mentioned here, during the famine, people had no choice but to emigrate for a better life, or turn to stealing to get food. It was a terrible time in history. Empathy, once as mentioned here, is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. You should be commiserating with the people that you're researching. Show compassion towards them, that yes, they lived in a terrible time. Emphasize that, show why, and then you'll get the information you will have is why this was such a terrible time or why this was such a good time. It all depends on what area you're researching. On specific topics, whether one may be controversial or not, I would suggest you looking into certain angles. So For example, as mentioned here, Irish Civil War, 1922 to 1923 in Mayo, if you're from Mayo, let's say. Look at both the pro-treaty and the anti-treaty sides. Look at both sides. If it's a more controversial topic, or if it's a topic that has specifically two sides to the story, look at both sides. Don't just choose one side and say one side was right, and don't give any reason why the other side was fighting. Give reason for why. Why did both sides do what they did? Referencing is very key to this project. It's about where you gather your information from. Gathering information from sources is especially important. I would expect at least two sources to be used. Refer to the evidence throughout your research. Use quotes, figures. When I looked at, let's say for example, when I looked at the National Census records from 1911, I discovered so and so. Having read about both sides of the Civil War, I now believe. These are examples that will be used if you're discussing what you've got from these sources. Okay, this is important. Shows that you've done the research and shows that you know more about the topic now. It shows that you know what you're talking about and you've put the effort in. I would say when doing research on sources, be aware of bias, propaganda, and subjectivity. Some things may be more opinionated than others. Use reliable sources. I would strongly recommend avoid using Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a reliable source and it should not be used when doing research. Use facts to help form opinions, and remember to cite your sources. Do not plagiarize. Give the credit where you've gotten the sources from. It shows that you've done your research and shows you've actively looked for research. Make sure you give the credit to where you've gotten the information from, so how to be citing sources. As you can see from the examples down below, if you have a read through them, you can see there's how to quote a website for an interview, for books as well. So these should all be looked into and should be followed through when giving reference and giving examples, giving credit to where they've got the information from is important to do so. So once again, just quickly on the presentation, laid out in a logical way, using photographs, images, keeping it colourful. This is a quick another explanation on how it should be presented, but following these, there should be no problems if you just follow these resources and follow these steps, to your presentation, checking your spelling and grammar, making sure it reads well, proofread it, see some of the examples that we mentioned already as you look through the slides. There should be no problems, okay, using different kind of photographs, images, whatsoever to make it look colourful and make it look very presentable. A slide under reflection, just to give a quick overview on how the student went through the CBA. So what did you enjoy, what didn't you enjoy, what problems, if any, did you encounter, what would you do differently, what did you learn about the work or the historian, what was the most significant thing you learned about your subject, and did you learn any new skills while going through this. So as you can see with the grading, you can see now if we go through it, you see there's exceptional. You've gone above and beyond in investigating your local place, putting a display together. Very few flaws with the work. So there's a clear indication of that you've gone above and beyond in investigating the work. That you've shown that that student has put in serious work and serious research has gone into it, and it's just a very well presented project. And then above expectations, all the points in the table have been met. No evidence of extra investigation. No, of the cutting edge extra bit has been done. It's clear to see they could have done slightly more. The student clearly understands the task and has worked well with the resources available. And in line with expectations, the work is where it's meant to be, and the student understands what has been asked of them. Few minor points to reflect on, but easily achieved. It is really just the bare minimum. It's just not much extra work has been put in, not much too much research, just what is required really. And then yet to meet expectations, students not worked to the best of their ability, worked with the resources available to them. A lot of points need work, and the checklist and the CBA booklet have not been fully engaged. So the work has not been put in. There is much more required of the student and much more ability left in the student to be put into, as really you would expect a lot more from the students. So it's really just clear indications of the 4 markings that can be achieved and well within all the students' abilities to achieve exceptional, or at least above expectations, if not exceptional. No question. There should be no problems. Now, I suppose that ends the slideshow as well. Also, I suppose this is my last slide, but really from an overall overview, this is just to clear up any questions that may have been left asked. This can be gone through again as many times as you desire, just to get it can be checked back upon if there's any extra questions. But as well, contact me from the website. The contact details should be on the website if there's any extra questions that you feel have not been answered on the slideshow or on the website. And just really, I suppose, take your time with CBA. For any students listening, take your time with CBA. It's a 3-week process. Do your research and choose a topic. Once again, I cannot stress, choose a topic that you enjoy. Choose a topic, a historical topic or object, monument, whatever, a person of historical interest in your family member. Choose one that you are interested in researching. Don't make the 3 weeks an unbearable task to get through. Make it something that you can enjoy researching and something you actively want to do more research on. Okay, thanks for listening, and I hope the CBA goes well, and over the 3 weeks I hope to look forward to working along with the students and getting to the grade that they deserve. Thanks for listening.